Oh, I see a blooper reel coming. Pixelmator Photo. What all does it have in it? Is it good? Is it not? Is it worth it? Looped.to, a new website for pointing everybody to your online presence. And we have a couple of rumors about the upcoming iPhones. Will they come true? Who knows? All this and more on the iPhoneography podcast. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the show. This is our last show before Christmas, obviously. And actually, it's going to be our last show this year. So we've decided that we're going to have a special guest on with us. And first, I will introduce my co-host, Mr. Dave Podner. Hello, David.
Hey, Greg, how's it going?
It's going well. It's been, of course, as a Canadian, all we ever do is talk about weather. So it's been cold. We've actually got just a light dusting of snow, but that's it so far. Mind you, winter doesn't start for a couple of days, so that's okay.
No, actually, believe it or not, tomorrow.
Is it tomorrow? I wasn't sure if it was tomorrow or the 22nd.
Yeah. Nope.
Okay.
Nope, tomorrow. Tomorrow, sometime in the morning.
So that means it's the shortest day of the year, and that means that the days are going to start getting longer.
More daylight.
Yes.
More daylight. Except for Craig.
Yes. Yeah, they're going to start getting a little darker.
Yeah.
And by the way, happy birthday, Craig. If anybody's listened to this show or Tiny Shutter for any length of time, you'll know exactly what we're talking about. But anyway, we do have a guest with us tonight. It's a guy that's no stranger to the show, and it is Mr. Matt Hoffman. How you doing, Matt?
I'm great, guys. Thanks for having me on tonight. It's good to be here.
Yeah, good to have you. So before we get into what we plan on talking about tonight, Matt, just give us, in a tweet, what you've been up to lately.
In a tweet. Geez, I don't know if I could sum it up that quickly. I've actually been shooting a lot lately. I don't know if this is good to say on this podcast or not, but I acquired a Fuji camera recently, and that seems to have just really reignited my desire to get out and take pictures and stuff. So I've been shooting like a madman recently, just like anything and everything. And that's been my focus, I guess.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, hey, photography is photography, right? This is about iPhone photography, but photography is just what it is. And it's nice to.
Yeah, I still do that. Not to say I don't shoot with my phone, still do. I've just been taking a whole lot more pictures with the other camera, but there's still cool, exciting things going on with the iPhone front. Like, you kind of turned me on to that app even longer.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't had a whole lot of chance to use it yet, but I think it was maybe last week or something. I got a couple pretty cool shots with it, and I liked it enough. I kind of knew actually ahead of time that I was going to like it enough that I ended up paying for it, because I wanted the raw output and all that stuff. And but in any case, the first shot that I took with it, I was like, wow, this is awesome.
Yeah.
The result was just amazing. So I'm pretty jazzed on that. So I'm looking for opportunities to use that. And that's sparking ideas and some creativity, which is good. I just feel like up until recently, like I didn't have that spark or desire, to shoot a lot. I don't know. I was occupied with other things this year, mountain biking and stuff like that. And,
yeah, well, that happens. I mean, for me personally, this year it's been my book has been consuming a lot of my time, and I just haven't been able to get out and take a lot of pictures like I normally would. But now that it's finished, I can, and of course now, of course, we're into winter. I mean, there's still lots of things to shoot in the wintertime, but it, it just takes up so much time. But I think that's awesome that you're getting back out there and creating again with the new camera, or the new to you camera. And so how do you like the camera? Like, is it as awesome as I think it is?
Yeah. So for anyone that doesn't know, if you're familiar with Mark Sadowski, who was kind of the main host of Tiny Shutter and whatnot, he is like a hardcore Fuji user, and I ended up buying this camera off of him. And the form factor of the camera is real similar to my old Sony camera that I shot with for a long time. But it's even more, how do I phrase it? There's not like a lot of like auto functionality to it. It's an involved camera. It's like a lot of dials and manual settings and everything. You really have to like pay attention, which I've always kind of never really shot like fully automatic anyway. I was always adjusting, something on my own, whether that was the shutter speed or the aperture or whatever. And with this camera, I just, you can do things auto or whatever, but it's not real obvious. Like the way the camera's set up, it just doesn't call out like, hey, here's program mode or auto mode or whatever. It just doesn't really, it's not that type of camera,
Yeah.
So there was a little bit, not really like a learning curve, because like I know how to use it and everything, but just kind of like getting it set up to like my liking. There's like a lot of customization that you can do to it, because it's got like all these dials and buttons that are programmable and stuff. And it's like, okay, what would I want this button to do, and getting that all dialed in. And but generally, even though this camera is 5 years old already, it's a major step up from my Sony.
Yeah. How
Uh,
is it at low ISO? Or sorry,
so
high ISO?
I knew what you meant.
Yeah.
It's probably not as good as like the latest and greatest cameras of today, but it's leaps and bounds better than my Sony. So like, for instance, with the Sony, if I had to shoot above 400 ISO, I just didn't take the picture, because
Oh, really? Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it just was horrible. It was horrible.
It was like that with my last Canon I had too.
Yeah, but this one, I took a whole bunch of pictures just a few days ago at like a Christmas light display thing that we went to, and it was shooting 1200, 2400 ISO, no problem. I mean, I really didn't have to do, the raw files have some noise or whatever, but I don't know how Fuji processes JPEGs or whatever. JPEGs are incredible out of this camera. They're absolutely incredible. It's something I've always heard about these Fuji cameras, is how good the JPEGs are, and it's no joke. They are
Yeah.
outstanding.
Yeah. I've heard Mark talk about that on his Fuji Love podcast.
Yeah. And so I've actually gotten into the habit now, and I'm telling you, I'm going to have a desk full of hard drives in a little bit here, the way I've been shooting, because now I'm shooting, raw plus JPEG. So the camera has 2 card slots, and I have raw written to one, JPEG written to other, and of course I shoot fine JPEGs, which are
Yeah.
a bigger file. But it's awesome. The camera has all these film simulations, Fuji film simulations, and I don't like them all, but a handful of them I've really taken to. And I still edit and mostly share the raw files, but I've taken a lot of pictures lately that I'm just like, yeah, these JPEGs are good enough, and I don't need to do a single thing to them. Just out of camera, boom, they look amazing.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. Like, yeah, like I've heard, like I say, Mark has mentioned it a few different times, and the people that he interviews say the same thing. The JPEGs out of those cameras are amazing. And if I ever went back to a traditional camera like that, I'm definitely going the Fuji route. Like I was thinking Sony, but then after hearing what Mark says on his show and seeing what Adam Gibbs and the photo tripper Gavin Hardcastle are producing with their Fujis, out
Yeah,
of this world crazy good.
yeah, absolutely. And I was fortunate enough that I was able to acquire a couple lenses right off the bat. So I had a couple old Nikon lenses sitting around, and I got a Fuji to Nikon lens adapter. So like right when I got the camera, I was using these old Nikon lenses on it, which was fun. It was manual focus and everything, but I was getting some great shots. And then kind of just like, I don't know, this just kind of happened. I went in this camera shop maybe about a month ago now, and they had this lens just came out. It's a Tamron 18 to 300 millimeter zoom.
Ooh,
It's
really?
it's the first. I don't know. I don't think it's the first 18 to 300. Maybe it's the first for Fuji. It's a first something of that range. So, it's like 16.6 times zoom, from 18 to
Wow.
300. And it was the top of my list of lenses to buy. And this camera shop I went in, I'd never been in there before, and I was talking to one of the owners, and I was commenting to him like, oh, I don't really see much Fuji gear in here. He goes, oh yeah, we have it, there's some on the shelf down there, Fuji lenses or whatever. And I was just like, I don't know if I really want any of those. And he goes, oh, we got that new Tamron. And I was like, wait, like you have it here? He goes, yeah, we have one. And he brought it out, and I was like, you just have this one? And he goes, yep. And I said, I'll take it.
Impulse buy.
Yeah. So I got that. And like some of the bird pictures that you've seen me post somewhat recently were shot with that, like immediately, like the next day after I got it. I think
Oh
I went
yeah.
out and did that. And then just a handful of days ago, I got a 14 millimeter f2.8, so like really wide angle. It's manual focus, but my intention with that is Milky Way landscape
Oh yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
So I shot with
Cool.
it a little bit this weekend, like some waterfall nonsense. The lens is great, but the pictures are not. Um, they're It was so overcast. It's kind of, I don't even know why I went out and shot. It's very
Oh
boring
yeah.
light, but yeah. So hopefully soon some Starscape type stuff with that lens.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Dave, how about you? You've been out doing a bit of running. Are you actually running yet, or
Yeah.
are you still kind of
Oh yeah.
jogging with your leg?
It's it was a Santa Run 5K race. So it was. I'm not back to where I was in terms of running.
Right.
So it
Just
was
to
a
recap, though,
jog.
just tell everybody what happened to your leg.
Sure. Well, okay. Kind of going back, we have to really go back to, believe it or not, early August, when I caught COVID off of Ruth. And that took me down hard for running, not in general. I was not close to being hospitalized. It was felt
Yeah.
like a really bad sinus infection, but it hit me. And it took me around a month to where I was starting to be able to run a little bit. Still had some pretty bad, I could feel my lungs were still not back to normal. But when that was going on, I rolled and broke my ankle. So that took me down I was in a walking boot for a month, and out of walking booth, but unable to run for another month. So that took a while. So pretty much since August, I was not able to do much running or any exercise really.
Yeah.
Consistently.
Especially
So,
the weather's good for running then.
well, I hate to say it this way, but the rule of thumb I have for running outdoors is it icy and slippy. If it isn't, and the temperature is, let's say, above 20 degrees, I'm willing to go outside and go running outdoors. So yeah, this I think it was like a week and a half ago or so. There was actually a local group actually had 3 or 4 Santa runs in different places around the city. So yeah, I was able to get out and do a little running that way. Took a couple photos beforehand of other people who were very dressed up for the run, and it's a fun thing. You see people all dressed up in different costumes and different get-ups. Someone went running with their mastiff, if you know
Oh,
the
really?
size of a mastiff dog, and they went running with that. And it was really nice because they had a photographer, and you didn't have to pay for it, unlike some running things. They had finishing line photos, which is
Nice.
always nice. Yeah. And also that means where they are, so you don't get caught half distracted while they're taking a photo of you. You look, I don't want to say ridiculous because I look ridiculous in the getup I had, but looking bad, not on purpose.
Well, it was a Santa run.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, starting to do that. And we actually got a chance, and you know what, I'm going to do a quick, let me see if I can do this here. Talking about, we were able to go a quick drive around here, and there's one person, we don't know who they are. They're the next town over. They put out overwhelming amount of lawn ornaments.
For
I'll call it
decorations.
yes, for decorations. And we were able to get actually a couple of shots driving in the car going up to it. And the crazy thing is, even though it was 5:30, which means it was dark, it was pitch
Yep.
black.
Yeah, it's dark.
Yeah, it didn't do night mode. It was the ornaments were light enough. It didn't
Yep.
have to go to night mode for it. So I'm going to show a couple. Actually, I'm going to put this over here real quick. Okay, I think it's moved over. Ruth got a picture, and there we go. Okay, let me go to. Oh, hold on. And I just I uploaded recently to the new version of iOS, so I'm still learning all the little fun stuff you can do. So Ruth got a couple pictures, and I got a couple pictures from the car. Now we stopped. We weren't, we pulled over side the road and we took pictures that way. So let me do a quick share here. And this is the one Ruth got.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
Kind of an up close look there. And
Yeah,
it's one of these big houses with a big front yard. So they got room, but it's a lot of stuff.
yeah. And not much on the house really, but everything's on the lawn.
No, everything's in front. Yeah. And let me go, let's see. Okay. And let me switch to, okay, this is the one.
We've got a handful of houses like that here.
Yeah. So this is kind of on, this is a little more of a zoomed out look here. So you can see they have a manger scene. They got a couple of angels up here. A little further down underneath the purple tree, they have a helicopter. Like a blow up helicopter area down there. They have the snowman on the right. I mean, it is crazy all they do here with all the light stuff.
Well, we have a place in town here that I swear when they put their lights on in the evening, our lights dim It's lit up like the Griswolds. And I took a picture of it last year, and I want to get a picture of it again this year. But and actually, the city of Owen Sound, where I live, they have an Instagram account where I'm trying to think of the hashtag. I think it's hashtag Get Lit OS. I'm not sure if that's exactly it or not, but they've been putting on like a picture a day, starting at number one, and maybe it's since December 1st. I don't know what it is. I just happened to notice this today, but all these different places around town that have lights on their houses, and the very first one I think was this place I'm thinking of. It's kind of a close in shot where you don't really see everything, so I don't know for sure if it's it or not, but yeah, it was, it's interesting. And so Matt, you said there's places like that there too, like there's some well lit homes.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's quite a few. I have a list saved in Google Maps, and then we spend a few evenings in December driving around, going to these places to check them out or whatever. Some of them are just kind of similar to what Dave showed, where it's just a house with a ton of lights, and some of them have like the whole you tune your radio to a station and it's synced to music and
wow.
everything.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, there's a handful of those around. And then I just heard about one today, and I need to add the address to my list later. It's in a nearby town that has a roller coaster in the yard, and I don't know what that means exactly, but I have to go check it out and see what that's all about.
I think it means they've got a lot of creativity, a lot of lights, and a lot of time on their hands.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've seen things where people put up like little roller coasters for their kids that have hills that are like 4 feet high, and it kind of rolls like that. So
Yeah.
I could see them doing something like that if you got the room for it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I wouldn't
the
want to be paying their
skill and the
hydro
whole
bills.
thing. Yeah, ouch.
Well, that's a look at what we've been up to for the last little while. And like I say, my time's been spent with a book, but it's all done now. But I did want to mention that quick little announcement here. I'm going to be a grandfather.
Yay.
And you guys already do that. But yeah, so that's pretty exciting. And I've known about it for a little bit, but couldn't say anything because we, wanted immediate family to get all to get the word first and whatnot before it went wide open. So my daughter-in-law, she put it on social media there, within the last week anyway. And when I saw that, then I knew it was time that I can just blow it up and tell as many people as I wanted. So little baby should be arriving in May, and everybody's pretty excited about it. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah, so first grandchild for me too. So it's really exciting. Anyway, so now what we're going to talk about is let me get back to my notes here. Is an app that just came out for the iPhone. There's been a Mac version for years, and it's always been a really good editor. You'd almost think it's part of the operating system, and it's called Pixelmator. And then they come out with Pixelmator Pro with a lot more features. There was a Pixelmator app on the iPhone that was very general, like it didn't have a lot of functionality at all. And then they put an app on the iPad, Pixelmator Photo, and it was loaded up with some pretty good features. And then now they have Pixelmator Photo on the iPhone. And the people who developed this app, they have a way to make it look like it just belongs in the operating system. It's so well done. And so I'm gonna connect my phone here and show you what it looks like. And there it is. Okay, you guys could see that okay?
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. So this is a photo I took in the mall today. One of the stores was empty, and so they've decided to decorate it up and give it a Christmas theme, which is very fitting this time of year. And so now Pixelmator Photo, you can see at the top center of the screen there has an ML button, like a magic wand, and that's machine learning. And if I was to just tap it, now this photo was taken in halide, and excuse me, it was a raw and a JPEG. And when I tap that ML for the machine learning, it's going to do like an auto adjustment. So it didn't change a whole lot, and I can swipe back and forth and see the original and then the change that it made. So I'm going to shut that back off again. One thing that Pixelmator Photo has is film simulations. So there's like classic film, I think it is, like modern day film. I went to the Pixelmator website and read up on it, and I'll put a link in the show notes to the website where it describes what these film simulations are, but they're, like black and white, some for landscape. There's a bunch of different ones. So if I go into the edit setting, or the editing functions, which is the 3 lines on the top with the buttons on them, we get into, there's white balance, lightness, hue and saturation, selective color, color balance, levels, curves, replace color, vignette, sharpen, and grain. And then there's other ones too. If I hit the little 3 dots there, go to customize adjustments, there's a list of all the ones that are available. You got fade, black and white, color, monochrome, sepia, channel mixer, invert. And I just don't have them turned on. Maybe I'll turn them all on, unless I have to do them all one at a time. Yeah, I'm not going to turn them all on. It takes too long. But anyway, so if you're listening to the audio, check out the YouTube channel. That's where you're going to see this in action here. So I go to, let's see here. There is a spot for there's the film sims down at the bottom here now. So you've got, I think it's like regular, black and white.
Yeah, cinematic is what that
Cinematic, yes, thank you.
Sure.
So let's hit one of these and see what happens. Yeah, so it kind of fades it out a little bit, puts a vignette around it, kind of gives it that cinematic look to it.
If I'm not mistaken, I think that I haven't had an opportunity to really play with this app yet, because I didn't even know it existed until right before the show. But I think that you could apply these presets or film simulations, whatever you want to call them, but go in and still tweak some of the parameters. So like,
yeah,
the cool thing about that is not only can you really make it your own then, but you can also see what it did. So if you're kind of just starting out and like learning how to edit your pictures, and you want to know like how did it achieve that look, you could go in and see all the sliders that it moved and how it moved them or whatever to achieve that look, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, so what you do is you swipe up on the film sims there, and then you can see where these sliders are now. I just picked one of the vintage film sim settings or simulations, and you can see now that the exposure didn't change, but the highlights have been brought down, the shadows have been brought up, brightness is brought down a bit, contrast, black point. There's been some adjustments to the hue and saturation, even to specific colors like selective color. Like the reds have been slightly adjusted, and even the oranges and the yellows, all these have been slightly adjusted with that film sim that's given it the look that it has now. And Doesn't look like the levels changed. There's even been a slight curve adjustment done to it. All this is done with the tap of a button. But like Matt said, you can go in and you can further adjust these. Like if I wanted to say brighten up the highlights a bit more, you could do that. So yeah, it's really good. And it looks like it's designed to fit the operating system, like to fit iOS. Now, one thing that I found in this Pixelmator Photo that I thought was really cool is if you hit the three dots in the top right, this is where you've got some of your options like share, export. You can enter full screen, copy the adjustments, and all that stuff is super resolution. So if you tap super resolution, what it's doing is it's doubling the resolution of the photo. So it's taken it from a 12 megapixel photo to a 24 megapixel photo. And when it's done, I'm going to save it out. Okay, so now it's done. Now I'm going to export it. And I'll just export it as a JPEG at 100% quality. Save image. There, and now I'll go back to the Photos app. And which one did I do? Okay, I did that one. Okay, so this is the original. If I double tap on this, that takes it to basically 100%. I think it is like 100% zoom. Now, if I go in to the one that I just exported, double tap it. Well, theoretically, it's twice the resolution. So if I did this, and there you can see it is twice the resolution as far as the camera specs go, 27 megapixels. And it says, iOS 15 tells you where you save the images from. It's saved from photo. If I go to the original one where it was saved from Halide, you can see that it's a 12 megapixel photo at the regular native resolution. So how this is going to apply in the real world, I don't know, because I don't know how good a quality you're going to get with that, just looking at it on a phone screen. I'd almost want to print something just to see, if it's going to be any benefit or not. But I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I'm super curious about this. Now you got me thinking like like I took a picture with even longer, right? I mentioned that earlier in the show, and I really like the picture. I could just open it in here, really not even make any edits to it, but hit that super resolution button and export it and have a bigger. So I think I'm going to do that. And I'm going to get maybe one of each printed and see. I don't know. I have to think about this. I'm going to see how big I can print them.
Yeah. Because I think, looking at, okay, so this is the original. And then looking at the one where I doubled the resolution. Oh, wait a minute.
I know what I'll do.
I'm not in there.
I will get exported first.
Yeah.
I'll get each one printed at 100%. And then what I'll do is I will print the original at the same size as the super resolution and see what that looks like. It'll look like hot garbage is what it'll look like, but it'll be fun to do a comparison.
Yeah, it's hard to say how it's going to turn out, but I did this resolution thing with a different photo. It was a scene of a bay with in the distance there was a pier that came out with a one of those red and white things with a little light on top so that the boats don't hit it. It was just at the end of this pier, and when I toggled between the two photos, the one that that I use the super resolution on, you can actually see that it looks sharper and crisper.
Oh, wow.
Now that's on the iPhone screen. So, I mean, I don't know, like I say, I don't know how that's going to translate over to prints and stuff like that. So eventually one of these days I will do the same thing. I will print one of each and see how it goes. But so that's, I mean, that's Pixelmator Photo. Something else that's interesting here is, let me go to, well, I mean, I'm still in this one here. Let's try the Band-Aid feature where I believe all you got to do is swipe over something and you can remove it. So there's a square. Well, okay, let's do this. There's a wreath on the wall at the back of the image above a fake fireplace between these two Christmas trees. So I'm just gonna swipe over this wreath, and I'm looking at my computer screen while I do it, so that's why I'm going out of the lines. But it's going to repair. I know it made a mess.
I'll say I tried that. I tried that with something, and I still like touch retouch better.
Especially the new version. Yeah, we should have talked about that tonight, but we'll talk about that on the next show.
Yeah, because because I had the exact same thing where I was trying to get rid of something, but it wasn't. All the examples, which I understand, you want to show the best case for your product. All the examples were things that were like, hey, here's a clear background and we're getting rid of it, instead of like you're trying to have that meld into a very complicated background with shading and and it's going to be tough to make that look like nothing ever belonged there.
Yeah. So I just stopped sharing my screen there because I mean, that's kind of a gist of what the app does and what it's capable of. Like I say, it's I've only had it for a few days myself and haven't really tried too many different edits on it, but I don't know. I kind of like it.
But let me show you one that I did real quick here while we're on the phone. I mean, while you were talking, still paying attention, but okay. So this was actually, I took this picture earlier in the month in my backyard, and I did the super resolution and did some work with the curves and was able to get that out of it.
Cool.
That's kind of cool. Yeah.
So it's really hard because if you're trying to get as many stars as you can get, it's going to be, at least in my mind, it's going to be a little grainy, especially if you have a lot of light pollution or noise pollution. But the fact that, like, especially like, and you probably can't see my pointer, but towards the right, around 2/3 down, you can kind of see like some of the stars where when the light pollution's there, it's kind of hard to tell them apart, but you can actually see the individual stars there. And it doesn't completely make the tree go away.
But you know what?
That's just kind of the
that's one of the better edits of the star shots that I've seen from you yet.
Yeah, thanks.
With all that light pollution in there, it looks like you're out in the middle of nowhere. And you know, remember some of them other ones, Dave, where you had that glow around the tree?
You
don't have that here. And that's perfect.
Yeah. Now, admittedly, some of the time, now I was a little lucky here because I have a neighbor just on the other side of the tree. And I believe, if I remember correctly, they did not have their lights on at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But earlier in other shots, they did have their porch light on. And since, of course, there's no leaves, the porch light lights up everything.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Especially with the 30-second, but also because something Matt mentioned that I did not realize, and I've been using this for a little bit. This thing does raw.
Yeah.
I did not realize this did raw, and that was a raw shot.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So it, and when I exported it in the high efficiency format.
Mm-hmm.
So even though it was originally raw, export in a high efficiency Mac, it only came out to 4 megabytes.
Oh yeah.
So, and I don't know what it'll look like if I try to, print it out on a glossy paper or, go to a kiosk and print it out. That's the next step to try.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's a good one to try too, because then you'll see,
Yep. Yeah,
how clear you got the stars and whatnot.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. So,
But like I said, I like Matt said, I like the fact I purchase once and I don't have to worry about, and I don't know how they're going to make money down the road. Hopefully they do. Once you get people with the initial sign up, you got to keep having people pay, because once you
yeah,
hit
yeah,
that, once you hit that limit of everyone who's interested purchased it, then all of a sudden you got to, keep having, not necessarily growing, but at least having money come in.
yeah, like a revenue stream. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, they've probably made a good chunk of change off their desktop versions. I know Pixelmator Pro is like, I don't know, 40, 50, $60. And they must do well with it, to keep things going. So
Oh yeah.
that's always a good sign. And the nice thing about Pixelmator Photo on the iPhone right now is it's half price. For how long, I don't know. But so it only cost me like $4 or $5.
Yeah, it
And
was like $3.99, I think,
yeah,
if you had to do it, and it's definitely worth it. Yeah. Okay. No,
yeah,
actually,
yeah.
it's half price. I just checked out Pixelmator Pro on the Mac. I don't know. Yeah, it's half off. Normally, it's $40 US. Right now,
Okay.
it's for 20, and they look like they've updated for the M1
Yeah, yeah,
for the Mac. So if you have an M1 Mac, definitely, and like I said, the thing is, this is where, if you're not, I don't want to say stuck, but deeply ingrained in the Adobe ecosystem, and you're looking
hmm,
just for, not the whole suite that kind of overwhelms everything that you have to have a subscription for, but you're only looking for photo editing, it's a good option there.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Matt, did you get a chance to say what your one fault was with it?
No, not yet. This app looks amazing, by the way. I'm really I didn't know it existed until literally right before the show, and I already have it downloaded and queued up to use. Um, and I think I said this already. I like pretty much everything that it could do. All the features look like exactly what I would want, except for one thing that it doesn't have, and that is extension integration into the Photos app. It's the reason why I've stuck with Polar for as long as I have. It's that I just prefer to go in the Photos app and look through my photos, hit that edit button, hit the three dots, scroll to Polar, boom, Polar opens up, and I'm editing. Um, it's just to me it's a less clunky way to pick out a photo to edit. And this doesn't have that. However, I'm going to give this app kind of the benefit of the doubt here, because um, it does tout having deep integration with photos. And from what I could see on their website, it looks like it has a really nice like photo picker, or it kind of shows you your photos the way that you would see them in the Photos app, it looks like.
Yeah.
And that's what I need, right? Because it's not, I don't just take like one shot of something, I take like 5 shots of something, right? And I need to figure out like which one's the best one. And so many photo apps, there's just something about the photo picker, it's really hard to tell if you're trying to just look at your pictures in that, and it doesn't like show them the same way that I would see them in the Photos app. So even if I go in the Photos app and I'm like, okay, it's that one, it's the third picture from the end, but then I go into the app and I look and they're kind of like arranged differently, and I'm like, oh crap, is it this one or is it this one? I
Yeah,
don't know,
yeah.
so yeah, so the way this is set up, it it looks real nice. So I'm excited to kind of dive in and check it out. I have a feeling, a strong feeling that this is going to have a new place, a primary spot, we'll say, on my phone. Looks very nice. And I
Yeah.
just want to quickly clarify the price, just because, Dave, I'm not picking on you. I just feel like, just in case anyone was confused about how
Oh, no,
expensive
no,
this app is, because
right.
Greg, you mentioned, you paying $4 or $5 for the app, and then Dave, I know you specifically were talking about the Mac app, but just in case people
Right.
didn't catch that. So mostly what we're talking about here is Pixelmator Photo 2.0 for your phone or your iPad. And if you're in the fabulous United States right now, it is $3.99, which is 50% off its usual price of $7.99. So get it while it's hot.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, just to clarify one point here that people may be questioning in the back of their mind, and that is this photo picker that you mentioned. The photo picker, like, okay, so with all the privacy and the security and stuff like that that Apple's coming out with, um, a lot of editing apps, like even like Facebook, Instagram, you have the choice of disallowing them to see all your photos. And then you can just add selective photos for them to see and then import into the app, right? Some of the photo editors do that. Now, some of them don't. But the reason is, and Pixelmator Photo is one of them here, and that is they're using a function of iOS called Photo Picker. And that means it's not that they've got free access to all your photos. That's not what's happening. Not like you would think, because just because you don't, it didn't present you with the little pop-up that says, would you like to allow access to your photos? And then you have three choices: allow, select photos, or do not allow. That comes up when you open something like Facebook or Instagram, when this thing first came out. But what it's doing is it's using a photo picker, which means it just shows the photos. The app itself has no clue what it's looking at until you actually select the photo and import it into the app. It doesn't see your photos. It doesn't, scan through them like Facebook and Instagram would do if you allowed all access. It's just a photo picker. You just pick the photo and import it into the app. So I just wanted to kind of clear that point up with people that are wondering, like, they open up Pixelmator Photo and where's this this pop-up that asks for permission to view our photos? Well, they don't need it because they don't want it. They're not looking at them. They're not doing anything with them until you import the photo through the photo picker. It's a feature of iOS that developers have the option of using, and whether they use it or not. So anyway, just wanted to kind of clarify that little bit there for the folks who are wondering about the privacy and security end of it all.
I don't want to drag this out, but now you got me curious. Have you clicked that button on any apps to only allow access to certain pictures?
Every time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So I generally allow access to all pictures. And I accidentally clicked on, allow access to only the pictures I tell you in the Mextures app recently.
Yeah.
Like, I guess I haven't used that app in a while or something. And it asked, and I clicked that, and oh my gosh, that was a frustrating experience. Like I was ripping my hair out trying to figure out how to switch it back so that it would just be all the pictures, which I eventually did, but I don't remember how.
Yeah, it is frustrating, and I do it especially with Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and any of these big social media companies that make their money off your information or whatever, right? It's a pain, but it's once you get used to doing it, it's not that bad. Like if I want to post a photo to Facebook, I'll I'll hit the photo icon, and then it'll say manage. It'll select photos that I've already allowed, or it says manage. So you tap manage, and then you go. And I don't use Facebook on my computer. I haven't since I bought this thing, and I won't. So everything I do with Facebook is on the phone. But anyway,
you don't want to taint your computer.
No, I don't. I don't want Facebook's claws into it. So in the Facebook app on the iPhone, there's a thing that says manage. So you hit that, and what it does is it takes you over to the settings app in Facebook, and then where you can select photos, and you can view the ones that you've already got selected, and then you can deselect them if you want to stop giving Facebook access to them, and then you can just go through and select the ones you want, and then that's fine. They're done. They're selected. Then you go back to Facebook, and now those pictures show up where you can actually select them to put into the post. Sounds convoluted, sounds stupid long of a process to do, but it's better for, as far as I'm concerned. It's more secure, it's more private, because if you allow all access to your photos, like say for Instagram is scouring your photos for facial recognition, anything that they can get. They're scouring your photos to get them, and I will not allow that. And I've made it so that no matter what app I use, if they're wanting to look at my photos, I use select, only selected photos. And then once they're done, I'll probably go back in and deselect them so that they don't have access to them anymore. Once it's posted, that's it. That's all they get.
Yeah. So just to be clear, I understand the benefits of the feature and everything, and why you would want that, for privacy and whatnot. But in my case, for like the Mextures app, it was not a benefit at all. I found it really frustrating.
Yeah, it is a frustrating thing. But like I say, once you get used to doing it, like I say, I've got it for everything now, and it's just part of the process for me. But one thing to do is to go to the Mextures app store entry and look at their privacy thing, read about their privacy, and see what it is they do with the information, if they do anything. If they don't do anything, if their thing in the app store says they don't collect any information at all, then you could probably open it up to let them have full access to your photos. Because hopefully they're being truthful and honest about these privacy badges. And if they're not doing anything, then I probably don't see no big deal. But
now you got me curious.
This is becoming a security show. Anyway, so that's Pixelmator Photo, and it is pretty cool. It's half price right now if you're looking for a good photo editor that's a little more powerful than the Photos app itself. And if that's what the one you're using, if you want a little more versatility, check out Pixelmator Photo. It's pretty good. So now we're going to talk about, I guess probably I'll be talking about it because this is so new. It's a website that looks like an app, but it's just a website, and it's called Looped, Looped. And the website is Looped.to. And it is, so a couple of guys put out this photo sharing app called Gala, and I've got it. I've used it. It's coming along. They're continually working on it, getting a little better. And it's, their shot at taking on Instagram. And will anybody ever be able to do that? I don't know. Instagram's just so big, and believe it or not, Instagram's finally supposedly bringing back chronological feed, but whether they've actually done it or not, I don't know. But anyway, so Gala is another photo app out there that's take a look at it if you want. But these guys have put out a thing on the web. It's strictly in a browser, and it's called Looped. And what it is excuse me, I am going to open it up in my browser, and then I'll let you have a look at it. It's kind of like a digital a digital business card, I guess, for lack of better terms. And here it is. Okay, so it's basically just a place on the web where you can leave links to your your social media, things like that, kind of like Linktree or about.me. Those are other sites that where you can put everything in one place for people to find all your online presences or whatever presence. Like Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. I've got my website, and I've got the website for this podcast. And so I've got the pro version of this, and with the pro version, I think you can put a video up here where if I click on it, I haven't done this on anything but my phone, so I don't know. It's not working. But anyway, you have a video to showcase what it is that you do. And of course, mine's all a bunch of macro stuff here. So under links, I've got my Instagram, my Twitter, my YouTube channel for the podcast, my own website, shotoniPhoneonly.com, and then the podcast website, iPhoneography.ca. And so if I clicked on the podcast one, and there it takes you to the website. If you haven't been, go have a look. So go back to it here. Under media, you can add photos. You can add a bunch of photos here, just like you can in Instagram, Flickr, any of these photo sharing sites. And then when you click on the photo, it takes it full size. And then about me, I'll have to change the color of that font, but all I put here is hit the My Website button on the links tab to read about me. So if I go back to the links tab and hit My Website, it takes you to my personal website, or one of them, and has a big spiel about me, which I'm not going to read now because it would put everybody to sleep. But anyway, so I think this is kind of cool. I think it looks better on the phone, because on the phone, it looks more like an app. And, it's a little customizable. I honestly don't recall what you get with the pro version versus the free version, but you can get it for free. And it's at Looped.to. I'll put a link in the show notes. And, if somebody wants to know what you do on the web, where you put your pictures, all that stuff, you can easily put them down in these buttons here and share away. Like I say, it's kind of like Linktree. I have a Linktree thing, but I never use it. I don't know. I'm not sure if it's a free service or you have to pay for it. I think you probably have to pay for some of it, but the free version of this would probably be enough for just about anybody. And you put your name, a quick little bio on there, and send people to this, and they can find everything else from there. It's probably not going to be for everybody, but it's, these guys approached me and sent me a message and asked if I'd be interested in trying it out. And I said, yeah, I'll give it a whirl. And it like I say, it looks better on the phone than it does on a web browser on a computer. So give it a look, see what you think.
Earlier this evening, I gave you a really hard time about this because I can't wrap my head around like the purpose of it, right? And my whole thinking was like, it like Greg, like you have a website, right? So like I was, it just wrapped up in this thing where like, why would you tell somebody like to go to this Looped thing when you could direct them to your website, and your website probably has links to Instagram and YouTube and all the other places that you are? Like, I don't get it. And even if you didn't have a website, right, if you have whatever, Instagram or Flickr or whatever, most social sites have a place where you could put links to other social sites, Twitter and, all that jazz. Right. So I was like, I don't get it. I cannot wrap my head around the purpose of this. Right. But I think I just thought of a great way to utilize this, and that is in your email signature.
Yeah.
Right. So it's the simplest link. It's the shortest little link, right? Like tiny little link, and throw that in an email signature, and someone clicks on it, and then they could choose, any of the different ways that you put in there to learn more about you or get a hold of you or whatever it is that they want to do. Now I'm thinking I might be on board with this. I gave you such a hard time earlier tonight.
Yes,
I'm so
you did.
sorry.
No, it's okay. But that's a great idea. Put it in an email signature. See, I never thought of that, but that is a perfect use case for it. About.me does the same thing.
I think I'm going to do that. I think, just in my personal email, and when I shoot off emails, if people want to kind of see, because I don't know, like in an email signature, that's just like I'm sending it to whoever and whatever. It's who knows what the email is about, right? It's not even necessarily about photography. It'd be weird to just like have a link to like my website, right, in there. But there's something different about this looped thing, right? Because it could go to my Twitter, they could click whatever. They could click whatever
and you could add your website
nothing
into it. You could add your website
I
to the
know.
looped page.
So I can have every little thing or whatever. Yeah. Dang. All right, I owe you an apology, man. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. You're not old enough to be a curmudgeon anyway.
No, I think my exact words were old fuddy-duddy.
Yeah. But no, that's good. It's good that you found something that you could use it for. And these guys are a couple of great guys who are just trying to find their way to make something meaningful for people. And they didn't tell me this. This is just the impression I'm getting. And that they're working hard on Gala as a photo sharing app. And I'll probably showcase that at some point in the future too. But this thing, I don't know how new it is. I mean, they just approached me about it today. So I think it's really, really new. I don't know if there's that many people on it, but yeah, I think it's a good idea. And it looks good. It looks good on the phone. Looks better on the phone than it does on the computer. And I mean, you could even make a QR code to put somewhere, and people could scan the QR code and take you right to their loop page. That's probably what I'll do. And that could be your part of your email signature. Find me online, scan the code or whatever. But yeah, I think there's plenty of potential here for Looped. So anyway, yeah, so that's Looped. The last thing I wanted to touch on real quick here was, and I just found this like a couple of hours before we come on here tonight. It is a couple of iPhone rumors, and if these things come true, this has got me excited. I'm not big on rumors, and I'm not going to hold any water to these at all. But if they're true, things are looking good for iPhone photography. The first one is for next year's phone. And this is according to analyst Ming-Chi Kuo. He believes that the iPhone 14 is going to go to a 48 megapixel sensor. It's about freaking time. I mean, the Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra has a 108 megapixel photo. It does pixel binning, all that stuff. It would be about time the iPhone finally goes something larger than 12 megapixels. I mean, they were stuck on 8 megapixels for so long, and then they finally went to 12, and it's been, gosh, since the 6S that they went to the 12 megapixel, and then I think it was the 6S, and then for how many years is that? Doesn't matter. It's been too many years to finally go to a 48 megapixel camera, and I'm sure it's probably just going to be the wide, but that'll be really, really cool. And the other thing is, I'll mention this real quick and then we can discuss it a bit, is for the 2023 iPhone, they're looking at going to a periscope camera system. What exactly that means, I'm not sure, but I have a feeling it has something to do with the zoom, and
It is,
you'll
yeah.
be able to get so much better range with it. So Dave,
Yeah,
what do you think of all that?
basically, well, the 48's definitely pixel binning, and I would be shocked if it does come. I'd be shocked if it's anything but the regular wide. Just again, the big difference between Apple and for those of us who used Apple more than, let's say, 10 years in the past, to say Apple is your volume brand is still kind of weird, but especially when it comes to iPhone, Apple is your volume brand. Let's say it's only in the 14 Pro, let's say non-max or non-max, assuming they have both sizes next year. But it's only going to be the Pro. Apple will go to Sony or, all the other distributors and manufacturers, say, by the way, we need 300 million of these over the next year. Can you give us to us? And most companies will probably say, no, we can't get close to that kind of output you need, because that's what Apple needs these days. I think that's one of the reasons why it's delayed so much. My guess is, and this is sheer guess without reading anything at all, but knowing how Apple operates, it will be 48 megapixel, but they will be 12 megapixel photos. Because of the pixel
you think so?
Because of the pixel binning. So because there's only, remember, if you cut each pixel into 4 pieces, unless you're making a massively used camera, each pixel and subpixel is going to be teeny tiny. So you got some major light sensing issues going on there. So, like I said, though, if you look at the Samsung, though, they have 4 cameras on the back. So they can afford to throw one specialty, 108 megapixel. Apple doesn't have that. Apple will only have the 3. And we all know that Apple tends to think about the 3 cameras as a whole camera system, not I have this lens, this lens, this lens. It's like, we're going to use we're going to use this, we're going to use this information from this one, we're going to use this from this one, we're going to move. So I could see them saying, well, it's 48 megapixel equivalent, but your photo output will be 12. And you may have to use like a third party. It's just like, if you want to shoot RAW, you can't do that in the built-in camera app. You're gonna have to download something else. I can see if you want to do a true 48 megapixel, a non-binned one, you're going to have to use like Halide or Camera Plus 2 or some kind of advanced camera feature, because that won't be built in. The periscope, for me, if you want to make a periscope camera, basically the idea is, think back to, and this is major oversimplification, think back if you ever saw a periscope, like the milk carton periscope you see kids make in elementary school. Same idea here. You have your lens here, you have a camera here, and then you have going down. So basically the way you make the lenses, you're basically making it where you're having a massive lens instead of sticking out that way, which is, impossible. You're having it inside. So you're having basically, that's how you can get a 10x, a 30x optical zoom. You're using that way to get the actual physical distance you need. But to do that, I'm thinking you're going to have a major change in the body of the camera and of the phone. You can't simply say, we're going to move things around in here and have all this extra room for the periscope zoom, because there's no extra room in here.
Yeah. So you're looking at a bigger camera bump.
Around.
Probably a bigger camera bump.
Well, or you're maybe changing the way the internals with the camera are set up. Because by then they could be making their own modem instead of using a Qualcomm modem, which will probably be added onto the system on a chip. just like with the M1, instead of having 5 chips do something, it's all in the system on a chip. You're bringing more in on the system on the chip. Also, I know I saw rumors saying that the front-facing camera could be a hole punch instead of the
Yeah.
notch there. But I could see that, let's say, the 2023 iPhone, call it whatever you want. Who knows, but it's going to be one. Yes, we have this amazing new periscope system, and to make it and to make more, we have decided to get rid of the charging port.
Yeah.
So it's
I don't know. I
wireless
don't know if that's
charging
coming.
only. Wireless, you know what though? If they're going to do it, they're going to do it on a brand new design, but it'll only be a Pro. Again, this will not be everything. It'll be,
Yeah.
just like when the 10 came out, you had, the 8, which was really your next gen, your next step in your iPhone from the 7s. And then you had your 10, which was, if you really want to try something different, OLED screens and
Yeah, that was the
here's your 10,
retooling.
way out here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's your brand new. So I could see that being, hey, we have your iPhone 15s, which are going to be a step up from the 14s, which are going to be a step up from this. So they're going to have 2-3 years where I don't think you're going to see a lot of changes. Maybe the hole punch there instead of the notch, but I don't see a lot of changes. But let's say in 2023, as a super pro or whatever, additional, adjectives they want to throw on top of it, and, little bits at the end of the naming, it's going to be a complete, we decide to make it the most waterproof, dustproof, secure iPhone ever. So we're getting rid of the charging port, we're getting rid of the lightning port, and it's all going to be wireless from then on out, because they'll have 4 or 5 years of, wireless capabilities in the iPhone. So I could see them saying, hey, we're not going to make all of our iPhones, just like they didn't make them all Face ID. They had they had 2 different options.
There'll be that crossover phase. Yeah.
Exactly. So I can see, because they got rid of the charging port and some other things, they're able to free up extra space, even though other phone companies can do it now, that it's going to be a periscope.
Yeah.
Because you do need a little extra room in there. So yeah, I can see that as being like the next, to me, the 10 was a generational leap in design.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Full screen.
Because
and
it was
everything,
like, full screen, notch, no more thumbprint, because this, sorry, Leo, I went from a 10 to this, and obviously it's heavy, it's large. But in terms of, I pick it up and I put it side to side, it's still similar. It's squared instead of rounded on the outside. That made a little bit of a difference in the, the MagSafe on the back, which I haven't used yet because I haven't purchased. And the lens is being freaking massive compared to the 10s lenses. But it's basically, it looks like the same thing. So I can see 2023 being the next, this is what the next 5 years of iPhone look like.
Yeah.
And
it's like
periscope,
the 10s Max and the 12 Pro Max, where it's a retooling.
Exactly.
Completely retooled and redesigned. Yeah.
But not a complete rethought.
Right. What do you think, Matt? Are you excited for a larger sensor like that, if it was to happen?
No, not using a pixel binning technique. I'd be excited for a larger sensor that stayed at 12 megapixels.
Oh, so just bigger pixels.
Yeah. I'm I've heard of pixel binning, and I'm sure I've heard it explained, but I was like, I don't really remember what that is. So I'm like quickly trying to read up on it, and I just can't wrap my head around like exactly what the benefit is. Like, to me,
better zoom, I think, is all it really comes down to. I mean, really, when you look at the S21 Ultra, it's got that 108 megapixel sensor, and the zoom capabilities far exceeds the iPhone, what the iPhone can do right now. And that's the only thing that does it, is the fact that it's got that larger sensor, more pixels, and the pixel binning. I think that's really, to me, that's, I mean, to get a shot of the moon with an S21 Ultra, I've seen some pretty amazing pictures taken like that. And other than that, I really don't see the benefit of that big of a sensor. I mean, if they could take a native photo at 108 megapixels, that would be cool. But yeah, so I mean, that to me would be the only benefit of it.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, eh, like Dave said earlier, you know, you're basically dividing this by 4. So you're
Yeah.
still getting 12 megapixel output essentially out of it. So I would rather just have bigger pixels than 4 tiny little pixels kind of, you know, gathering light, you know, to make one equivalent larger pixel.
Yeah.
Doesn't make
And
any
you know
sense
what?
to me.
At the end of the day, it's a phone, right? You're taking pictures with a phone. If you want massively sized sensors, go get yourself a full frame or like a mirrorless or whatever. Those are the cameras that are going to house these big pixels. Excuse me. When it comes to using a phone for mobile photography, I mean, I've accepted the fact that I'm limited with the size of the sensor, and the bigger pixels that came in with the 12 Pro Max, they do a great job. I think that's where the technology should go. And of course, these are rumors. Who knows? Like Ming Chi Kuo has not always been right. So it'll be interesting to see what does happen. I just thought I'd throw it out there. Like I say, I'm not real big on these rumor things, especially when they're this far out. But mind you, it's not going to be long now where they're going to have to start producing the next iPhone. Like I'm thinking within 4 or 5 months away, they're going to have their finished product sitting on the table at Apple. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But real quick, Matt, Periscope Zoom, what do you think of that? Do you think it would be?
I actually think that that's more likely to happen than the 48 megapixel sensor.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it'll take some, you know, if Apple wants to keep the form factor of these phones similar to what it is now, it's definitely going to they're going to have to do some creative Tetris inside that phone to fit everything in. But you know how I roll, man. The bigger the better. So if they want to make the phone bigger, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I guess what I'm saying is, if you need to make the phone physically larger to put a periscope camera lens in it, then hopefully that means you're making the screen bigger as well.
Yeah.
So I'm all for it. I'm all for
Yeah.
it. And real super quick. I'm going to find the article and share it with you. And maybe like after the new year, I could come back on and we could talk about this sensor thing again. But
Mhm.
Sony developed a new sensor technology, and I'd have to find the article and reread it again, but it has massive implications for improving small sensor performance. So like, you know, phones essentially. You know, and obviously this is probably still years down the road, but I'll share it with you and we could talk about it after the new year, because it's going to be way better than this pixel binning nonsense.
Yeah. Because these things are using Sony sensors,
Sure. Yeah. As
right?
are, most things out there are using Sony sensors.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's interesting. I never heard anything about that. So it'll be interesting to see what they come up with. Well, I think we'll call it a show, guys. It's been a great discussion. It's been great having you on, Matt. I see you got
Thank
your
you.
Christmas tree all lit up in the background there. So 5
Yep,
more days.
it's in a different spot this year. It's usually back there, but now I have a piano, so
Yeah,
too
that's
hard
neat.
to move the piano out of the way. So now it's in the other corner here.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it looks good.
Thanks.
So, well, just real quick, tell everybody where they can find you. Plug your website.
Oh yeah, you could check me out at I think it's mhoffmanphoto.picfair.com. Is that right? Yeah. Yeah, we'll just say it's that.
If
And you
it's
can
not
also
right, I'll
check me
make
on,
sure it's right on the screen.
yeah, and check me out on Instagram too. I'm at mhoffmanphoto.
Right on. Dave, where say you?
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter as Prof Pod. And Matt, sorry, tickle my throat. It is M Hoffman Photo at PicFair.com. I just double checked.
Cool. I got it right.
So it is definitely there. Yeah. Well, and also it not only the M Hoffman Photo, but I didn't know if it was PICT, PIC, with however everyone spells things. That's why
Nobody
I've
knows.
always felt lucky that I start early on stuff and I'm able to get Prof Pod in most places.
Yeah. Yeah,
Makes it easy
exactly.
to spell. Yeah. Also, people don't have to say, so how do you spell your last name again?
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, and you can find me on Looped.to. I don't know the full URL offhand. It's loop.to/?Greg, I think. But I'm going to make a short URL for that, like a bit.ly link or something like that. And I'll probably use that. So, but anyway, but yeah, other than that, you can find me on the other all-in-one link pointer. You can go to about.me/McMillan, and you can find all my stuff that way too. Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff. And we do the show every 2 weeks, as long as we can. And the podcast lives on iPhoneography.ca. And let's see, you could try checking out the online community that this thing holds, all started from, at artfulipc.club. And oh, I wanted to plug real quick that Shane Mostyn had a live show on Friday in North America. It was Saturday morning for him over in Australia. And it was Shane as the host, and then it was Mike James, Ralph Mayhew. So both those guys are Aussies. And then David Addison and myself. And we went on for 2 hours and just talked about anything and everything. And we even talked about a little bit of photography. If you got a couple hours to kill, you want to watch a fun show on YouTube, we had a blast. And check it out. It was a great time. And I want to say thanks to Shane for having me on. And it was a Christmas show. It was a giveaway. And he gave away a Pixel 4a. He buys all these phones that he uses, and when he's done with them, when he's done testing them and comparing them and reviewing them and all that stuff, he'll either sell them. Well, he tries to sell them, but because it was his Christmas show, he gave away the 4a, and it was a fun time. And I got to tell you, in the last, say, half hour or so, 40 minutes of the show, I don't want to spoil it, but just keep an eye on the names, like you see here, where it is right here. I got my name here, and Matt's got his name, Dave's got his name. Keep an eye on the names. Some funny stuff happens there. It's just a barrel of laughs. We had a great time. And I asked him if he's going to do it same time next week. No, it's going to be once a year for the Christmas show. But his regular live thing, I think, is going to be next week again. And it's always entertaining. So I'll put a link in the show notes to that video, and just check it out. It was a lot of fun. So I guess this is it now for this year, guys. Have a Merry Christmas, and stay safe over the holidays, and bring in the new year, with hopes and promises of prosperity and good health.
Thank you. Same to you, Greg.
Thanks so much, Greg. You too. Yep.
Yeah. Alrighty. Okay. Well, I guess we'll see everybody next year.
Sounds good.
All right. Bye
Okay.
bye.
Yeah,
and
I
all
mean,
this and more coming up in
Yeah. Okay.
I mean,
I'm gonna try it again.
did you want to write it down real quick? Do you have? Yeah, well, you don't
No,
have to
'cause-
focus. About that, I didn't know if that way you wouldn't have to focus on the words. You only have to focus on the delivery bit.
Yeah. Well, I've got the notes right here, right? So
Okay.
I'm trying not to look at them. I want to look at the camera, but okay, I got it. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Pixelmator Photo. What good is this?
what good is it? Worthless crap.
Who needs it? Yes.
Oh, I see a blooper reel coming. Okay.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Okay, 1, 2, 3.